You ever have like an idea? It's a really good idea. You're really excited to do it, then you go to do it. It's terrible. Yeah. So that's me recording the audio for this video. I've done it 3 times, and when I went back to listen to it, it was 20 minutes and exhausting. So I'm trying again. Really, what I want to do with this channel is I want to reach out and connect to other guys who love, or girls, who love comics, have tried to break in, and just for whatever reason they were discouraged or just didn't quite make it. For me, I think it was a combination. I never quite hit that talent threshold of being good enough to really be pro. And then also I kind of just let go for a lot of different reasons. I decided to get married, and I have always been really happy with that decision. It's led me to a wonderful life I'm really happy with. So it's not, it's not like I can't believe I let this dream slide or anything like that. It's more life is slowing down now. I'm in my 40s, and maybe I could do this for myself. I'm not really interested in selling anything. I've been down that road, not with no real success, but just putting a tremendous amount of effort into selling ideas, written and illustrated, and had no luck. Don't really care to do that anymore. So instead of trying to sell something to a publisher or somebody else, I'm going to do this for me. And if I can find a partner that wants to come alongside me and help me out, that, you know what I mean? That's awesome. Otherwise, I'm going to self-publish. But over the course of my almost career, I've written several screenplays, ton of proposals for animated features, including scripts and that kind of thing. Sold a few things, never made enough money to really legitimately say I'm pro. I mean, I'm professional in the sense that I've sold stuff, but that's about it. I've never come close to making the majority of my money with art and writing. It's always been a passion, but just never really yielded me the life that I hoped it would when I was very young. But I'm older now, and my daughters are old enough now that they're not. They have their own kind of stuff going, and they actually don't want me to bug them a lot. So I've been looking for things that I can do, hobbies that I'm excited about, and instead of trying to make something marketable, I decided I'm going to tell a story that I'm excited about. And that's what XL is. XL is really the story of my midlife crisis. Some people, I'm 42, that may be a little young for a midlife crisis, might be a little old to some of you. But a couple of years ago, I had kind of a convergence of things in my life that I was not excited about. And they wore me out, they exhausted me, but they also educated me about life. The number one thing was life is never what you think it will be. Life is not what you feel you're entitled to, and some aspects of life are absolutely going to bury you. What I mean by that is, it's like when you're a kid, comics. I'll use comics as an analogy, all right? So why do we get into comics when we're kids? Well, because we have teachers, parents, brothers, sisters, all these authority figures telling us constantly what to do. What if, what if you could kind of dream up a situation where you had immense power and you could do what you thought was right? But let me ask you this. If you're an adult and you're still reading comics for that reason, with that mindset, what does that do to you? Years ago, a much maligned psychologist wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent. And the thesis was essentially that these comic book concepts of power and lack of consequence, that they were damaging to preteens and created juvenile delinquents. And while that's an overstatement, I feel like adults need different escape, different types of fantasies, and Excel is the one that I feel like I need. It is a much more autobiographical than escapist. It's it's almost an allegory, I guess. Had a really terrible falling out with my brother, who I love dearly but can't stand, and then was let go of a job that I worked at for about 8 years. Did my best to help kind of build it up, and then it didn't work out for me to stay there. Along with that, it just one thing after another, you know what I mean? And I feel like midlife is, or a midlife crisis is all about realizing that that you're not in control. So with that idea in mind, what does that do to a traditional comic book, like a traditional superhero? Well, it kind of flips it, doesn't it? So the idea of Excel is Arthur is going through a year like I went through. He's at the very bottom, except he actually did get divorced, and he lost his job, and someone dear to him passed, and he's left by himself, and he is left feeling somewhat worthless. And in a moment of crisis, he kind of encounters this supernatural conflict. He is empowered with this ability that whenever his body is damaged, it grows back tougher and a little more messed up. So imagine that you're absolutely invulnerable, but it's not. But you pay a consequence every time you take any kind of damage. So at the end of every battle, he's worse off than he was when he goes in, and it's a situation that can't get any better. Like that is what I learned in my midlife crisis. That some of these situations, some of these consequences that we pay, the hardest thing to accept is that they may not get better. My relationship with my brother may never be healed. Some of these epiphanies you go through in your 40s, they just change you, you know? So Excel is me putting those thoughts to paper. And, you know, I never quite made it as a comic artist. I never quite made it as a writer. So instead of trying to sell something to a publisher or somebody else, I'm going to do this for me. And if I can find a partner that wants to come alongside me and help me out, that, you know what I mean? That's awesome. My hope is that with this channel, you can follow along as I build this story. And this illustration that's happening while I talk, but art departments call it a mood board. It's something you put together so that you can encompass the feel of a story. So this first illustration, it's not actually going to appear in the story probably. It might be a backup or the back cover. But I put this together so I would know what I wanted the story to feel like. And it feels like a guy going through a really rough time and experiencing some rage. So anyway, check back and I'll tell you more about the story as I develop it. I've got character bios. I'm going to talk more about the story arc and everything down to the details of publishing and some of that stuff that might be helpful if you're looking to self-publish a comic. If all this went exactly as I dreamed it could, other creators who have lost faith over the years aren't sure what to do next, but have this unyielding desire to make comics or write. This might be a place where I can talk about my experiences, you can talk about your experiences, maybe we can feature other projects on this channel just so we can talk about the process of making comics or other creative endeavors. I know one of my struggles is there just aren't that many people in my community to talk about this part of my life, but I know that there are a ton of us in the world. So reach out, say hey. Thanks.